Hey folks, we're back and it's time for a new segment we promised you with some great information. Tax tips with Beth Bennett from H&R Block. I'm your host, BKP. Beth Bennett, how are you?
I'm great, Brian. How are you today?
Good to have you back this year. And you know, we've always done this in the past several years in the studio. But you know, we said, hey, why don't you come join us on Friday, a live show, and up here on a Friday morning. And I think tax tips fits right in with our audience here on Friday. So I'm glad we were able to put this together.
Glad to be here.
Big questions out there.
Lots of questions.
And you know, it used to be we knew when tax time. You know, it used to be April 15th. Right now we don't know. Like everything is all up in the air. But I tell you, some of the biggies out there, if we could cover immediately, because it is that time tax. This past year, people have gotten unemployment. Okay, is there anything about, and let me just roll this out, some of these things that people are talking about, and then you could take them one at a time. Unemployment went through the roof in 2020. People went on unemployment. Is it taxable? Not taxable. People got enhanced unemployment. They got the federal extra $600 on the unemployment. Is that taxed, or how is that income handled? How is that handled? You got stimulus money. Do you have to pay taxes? Because the government didn't send us a check. It was just $600, $1,200. It wasn't. We didn't have any deductions out of it. So, did they send us our money, and now they want some of it back, and we've got to report it as income? I mean, are these all the things that you're hearing? How many, and what else am I missing?
All those. You got another round of the PPP loans. So lots of things changing this year. So with the stimulus is not taxable. That is them giving you your money back, which we'll pay back, next year and the year after that and the year after that. But the stimulus is not taxable. It is your money given back to you. If you didn't get your stimulus, the only way to claim that now is to reconcile it on your tax return. So when you go and do your tax return this year, there's line entries on there. Did you get the first stimulus back in April, and did you get this one here? This stimulus that came out after the 1st of January will still go on the tax return you're completing now.
All right, so stimulus, for those out there, do you have to report it, or do you have to, are they going to send us a slip, but it's not taxable? It's not added onto our income?
Correct. So, yes, they did send you a slip back in April when you got your stimulus, and it probably came about the week after. I trashed mine. I'm like, that's great to have a letter after I got it. All right. But you were supposed to keep that letter so that you could turn it in with your taxes to let them know that you did get the amount that you were entitled to. It does go on your tax return, but it's to reconcile. It's for information. It's not taxable. It's not part of... It's in the tax return, but it's not part of the tax return. You're just putting it on there. If you were supposed to get $600 and you got zero, we put a zero, and then that means it'll generate a stimulus check for you. If you got $600 and you were supposed to get $600, then you're not getting any more money. So you're reconciling your stimulus on the tax return, but it's not actually a part of the tax return. It's not calculated in taxable income. There's no taxes on it. It's just, that's the only way for them to track it and reconcile, to make sure everyone got the amounts that they intended them to.
What about unemployment?
So unemployment is taxable. A lot of people don't realize that. And one of the things, a big change that happened on December 27th in that last package that came out was, so a lot of the low-income people have got a credit called the Earned Income Tax Credit. And that credit is based on earned income. So unemployment isn't considered earned. So if you were a restaurant worker, hospitality, a lot of those industries that were hit really hard, and you drew unemployment, then it would seem to you that you wouldn't get that credit. But they're doing, it's called the EIC look back, and if you earned considerably less this year compared to last year's tax return, then you can use the previous tax return's earned income in order to qualify for that credit this year, so that it doesn't kick you out of getting that credit. So that's kind of a big deal for a lot of people who drew unemployment, you know, your cooks and your waitresses. And
So what about, and this is some of the things that are also confusing. Generally, if you're unemployed by not COVID, but if you're unemployed, that's state unemployment. That's not federal.
mm-hmm.
This had a federal component added onto it. Is all of it taxable?
It's the best that I can read it, yes. What Georgia hasn't released their unemployment yet, and we're not even sure exactly how it's getting reported to people. It's hearsay that it'll be reported with the Georgia, on your Georgia, that it will all be inclusive on your Georgia 1099 for unemployment. So we're still waiting to see. It wasn't out as of this morning to check those numbers, so we'll have to wait and see, but hopefully, cross our fingers, that it'll all be all inclusive, because you did just go through your state unemployment in order to qualify for that.
So just like your anything else, W-2s, 1099s, whatever, that come from employers to do your taxes, the state also does something like that. You get that also from the state to do your taxes on unemployment.
Correct.
So normally what would happen is if you go and you do unemployment, you could check off withhold taxes or not. Okay? But you will get that state 1099 to take to you to do your taxes.
Correct.
So we don't know yet if the state 1099 is going to have the federal money incorporated yet. We're not 100% on that.
Not 100%. That's just hearsay. Some of the other states have done it that way, but that doesn't mean anything, right?
Right.
Because each state is their own. So we're hoping that
We're here in Georgia right now.
We're here in Georgia right now, and we're hoping that's how it'll work out for this one as well.
What are some of the other big concerns this tax season, some of the biggest topics that you brought this morning that you're getting the most questions on?
So a lot of people are out of work or underemployed, right? You know, not making the same money they were, are on unemployment. Might have had some cancellation of debt, meaning maybe I had credit card debt and I got behind and they offered me to, you know, I owe $5,000, but if I can pay them $1,000 or $2,000 today, then it'll be paid off and I'll be clear. So that's called cancellation of debt, the difference in what you owe and what you actually paid to clear that off. That's taxable income.
That's like a gift. That's that's like
I mean, you spent the money.
Yeah, if you owe somebody $5,000 and they say, I'll write it off for, you know, I'll take two, you still get a statement saying they gave you $3,000.
In a perfect world, you do get a statement. A lot of times we see that those statements come very late in the year. They're not always filed.
Okay.
So if you did that, you need to try to find your records and bring that in with your tax return. Whether it was a credit card, if it was a car. Cars are a little trickier because sometimes they wait till they sell that car the second time and then write off the difference.
Right.
So sometimes that one's a little, you know, a credit card. If you negotiate a credit card out, it's done, right? Your debt stops there. With cars, it's a little trickier. With the home, if it's your home that you lived in, those are not. That's not taxable. If you're insolvent or filed bankruptcy, then that also negates it from being taxable. So,
But a cancellation of debt is different.
So cancellation of debt, even on a credit card, if you file bankruptcy and they canceled that debt, then it's not taxable under the bankruptcy laws.
I understand what you're saying.
It's very messy, right? There's so many but ifs in taxes.
What about the Paycheck protection loans that came out? Now you do business taxes. This is Beth Bennett, H&R Block, but you do business taxes.
We do.
You do business taxes and you file quarterlies and you do business returns. Small businesses that received that loan this year, that it was forgiven, how does that affect them?
So that one there worked out just as they intended, and they didn't really know how it was working until December 27th. Is when we got the final words on that one, as well. You know, when President Trump passed that, he intended for that to be completely free money to businesses, right? To not have a negative impact. It was to help them get through the tough times, for the loan not to be taxable, and then it went through Congress, or the IRS started fighting that we were double dipping. If the money wasn't taxable, then we shouldn't be able to take those expenses that we claimed in order to get the loan forgiven. Well, December 27th, because right at the end, they decided that yes, a business can still take the expenses they use. So let's just say you got $20,000 in a PPP loan. Your loan was forgiven. It's not taxable, doesn't go anywhere on there. Initially, they were saying that you couldn't take, you had to use it for payroll, rent, and utilities, right? So if you used it to pay your payroll, then you weren't initially going to be able to take that off on your tax return. So technically, that made it taxable, right? Because if I don't get to take my expenses, then the $20,000 became taxable. So now, though, if your loan was forgiven, you can still take those expenses that you used to qualify to get your loan forgiven.
That's big information.
That's a big deal.
It is. Beth, is there anything in particular there that we didn't touch on this morning that you wanted to make sure that we shared?
Yeah, so going back, we talked about the cancellation of debt and that being income. It doesn't affect everyone, but the people that it will affect could be really big. If you had cancellation of debt and they count that as income this year, that could impact your Obamacare, your premiums. They pay that in advance. You go in and you tell them whatever the open period is, like October to whatever, I expect to earn this much money. So if you had $5,000 in cancellation of debt, that upped your income, that changed your premiums. So anticipate looking at owing some taxes when you do, not taxes, but to pay back some of your Obamacare, that upfront insurance premium they pay for you.
Seems like everything's so confusing.
It's messy. It's really messy.
But you work hard to help clarify that if we come see you.
We will clarify it for you.
How many locations now?
8.
So you are Beth Bennett, H&R Block, 8 locations.
8 locations.
Well, we won't test you today unless you want to put them all out there. You just don't want to try.
I'm just going to say here, there, and everywhere.
She's here. I like it. Here, there, and everywhere. Okay, because I was like this and that. That gets what's wrong with that? This and that. Here, there, and everywhere. Beth Bennett, H&R Block. So here, there, and everywhere. How do they get in touch with you?
HRBlock.com and just look us up.
Beth Bennett, HRBlock.com. I know you're down there in East Ellijay.
We are in East Ellijay.
Yeah, I know you're right down there in East Ellijay. And here's another thing I know, is we're in tax season. They have hours of business operation. They do. But if you have a need for an appointment, you get in touch with them. You work it out, don't you? You make sure that you work it out. You will get somebody's taxes done. You will work within their schedule and make sure you can get it done for them, correct?
Yep, and if they have any health issues that they don't want to be in the office when other people are there, we'll work with you to do that as well, so that you can come safe and not have to worry about it.
So if you're concerned of coming in, you also have other ways you can work with them safely.
Drop it off to us in person. We got at our East Ellijay location, we have a drive-through. We actually utilized a drive-through last year. That was lots of fun. But you can drop off to us online as well. So
look her up. Look her up. H&R Block, East Ellijay, and here, there, and everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere. Beth Bennett, H&R Block, tax tips, great information. Okay, and Beth is keeping up with when she says it hasn't come out yet. You guys are in the cutting edge. You're right in the front of things that come out that are changing on how you can take expenses, not take expenses, what affects your Obamacare, what affects the income side when filing your taxes. So you guys are out in front of that, and they get that information daily. So get in touch with her and let them help you, and you do business taxes. So not just January and February. You're open year round.
Open year round.
And you file quarterlies. Thank you for being here. Did you enjoy being here today?
I did enjoy being here.
This is a little different. You know, I have to tell you, we are not the star. We have the star of the show coming up.
I know, I saw.
Yeah, the pet of the week. I just hate to. I have to tell everybody we love having you here, but if you stuck around this morning for our, and the other thing is our pet of the week also has a weight loss component to it. Hey, now they're going to have to stick around to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
You're going to have to stick around to figure that out. Beth, thank you for being here this morning. We appreciate it. And you can always find her tax tips on our YouTube channel, FYN TV, and Fetch Your News YouTube channel. Look for the playlist, Tax Tips with Beth Bennett, also on FYNTV.com. Today, your first segment of this year, today we will have a spot right up there on FYNTV.com that says Tax Tips with Beth Bennett. Look this up, send it to your friends, share it with them, and we'll see you back again here real soon. We good?
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Lonnie, you know Lonnie, right?
I know Lonnie.
Do you know Lonnie?
Yeah.
Lonnie, take a break. Pet of the week right after this.